Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 replay cast. Should be a good one, or at least an entertaining one here. We've got ourselves a TvT. I know the last game I cast on my channel was a TvT. I'll get back into the swing of the regular things in a little bit here, but yeah, just on a new setup, figured I'd just find a quick replay to cast, and this looks like it could be a fun one, that's for sure. Spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map, always a treat. It's avilo. And his opponent, I've never actually cast him before, I believe, spawning up in the top right-hand side of the map. It's Storm's UpATreeZelda. And for those of you that don't know, UpATreeZelda is a streamer, pretty consistent at it now, improved as a player from what I've seen, so gonna be exciting to cast him. Of course, avilo, I've cast him on the channel a fair few times. He's always an exciting player to watch, but no, another TvT here. The map is year 0, so that means that we've got this big guy lurking around in here somewhere. There he is, and always present, but no, a TvT. Starting things off, avilo gonna be going for an SCV scout a little bit earlier than UpATree, but both of them just going for that double gas opening here. So pretty mirrored openings coming out of these guys, everything considered. And yeah, anyway, as I said before, just while we've got this bit of downtime, guys, this is a new setup for me, so or just like a change setup for me a little bit. So let me know if there's any feedback on the audio or anything like that. And yeah, anyway, as this game goes on, UpATreeZelda's SCV gonna get over. And then we pretty much have like the Spider-Man meme, in which the two Spider-Men are just looking at each other. It's like, yeah, you, no, you, I'm building a factory. They're both building factories on the way here. Double gas on the way, so very, very standard stuff going on here. And yeah, both of them have an SCV in their opponent's base. Avilo is going to be heading on out. UpATreeZelda looks like he's getting drilled a little bit here. Take that as you will. And both SCVs, or actually, no, I was going to say both are going to get out, but it looks like UpATreeZelda SCV is trapped here. Avilo's Reaper is going to come back to finish him off. You don't want Scout just lurking around your base for free. As this is going on, avilo actually rallying his SCV down to the bottom right here. This is interesting. I was going to say maybe this will be like a proxy or something, but he's already got a starport going up inside his main base, so that's definitely not the case. I mean, maybe it could be like a command center later on in the game or something extreme like that. Who knows? Maybe avilo really thinking ahead. As this game is going on, though, what we see is we've got avilo going for the quicker starport, whereas UpATreeZelda, he's delaying that a little bit to get that command center going up first. So faster command center versus faster starport, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see avilo throw up his relatively soon. That's just the way that it generally works out. Avilo going right into a Cyclone, though, so he is delaying his command center a little bit, whereas UpATreeZelda not doing that as much. Avilo comes on in with that SCV that was hanging down at the bottom of the map, so no proxy command center or anything like that. Just keeping it out on the map there for a later scout. He gets on in, confirms the command center, so just gonna have a fairly good sense of where his opponent's at. It's very relieving in a TvT to spot your opponent going for a command center. It's like, huh, you're not just trying to get me out of this game instantly. Now, Cloak on the way for avilo. He's got that starport with a Banshee on the way. He's also got his Cyclone, a Reaper, and a Hellion. Sounds like the start of a bad joke waiting up at the top of this ramp. Whereas UpATreeZelda, he's got 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions. This could actually be an interesting battle if he tries to dive up that ramp. I highly doubt he will. Maybe he's going to prove me wrong here. Oh, yeah, maybe. Is he going to go for it? I mean, the Reapers and Hellions, it's actually a little bit more muscly here. A Cyclone's not a complete catch-all versus this composition, so avilo's actually being chased down here. His Cyclone never locked on anything. Looks like one of the Reapers went down. He's going to lock onto another. UpATreeZelda working away on that, though. Look at that, though. That Cyclone takes a fair bit of damage. The Banshee even has to come on in to help shoo this away. However, that's a complete reveal on the Banshee there. So avilo's cloaked Banshee, just a completely known thing now. His command center was delayed on this side of the map, and so yeah, avilo having it a bit rough just from the nature of the start of this game, whereas UpATreeZelda, he's got his orbital command already on the way, whereas avilo's is a ways off. I mean, it's not like game ending or anything as TvT. There's a little bit of leeway. However, it's not a great situation just being behind on the openings like this for avilo. He is trying to make up for it by going double command center, which is definitely a valid option here. Getting up that Raven behind this as well. So, oh, looks like the Banshee. Oh, okay, Avilo's Banshee does get in here. I kind of just disregarded it since UpATreeZelda had that Raven and a Cyclone, but that Banshee for Avilo does get in. It picks off how many SCVs did you get? 4 SCVs in total. Not bad for a Banshee when there's detection out there. So very well done in that regard. UpATreeZelda now though, just going into Viking production, getting siege tanks on the way, producing a couple of Marines here, not starting stim or anything just yet. So it's possible that for those of you that see this in TvT, this can be a very dangerous thing for Terrans. I went to play my first Terran game for the first time the other day, and this happened to me. This exactly happened to me. Your opponent comes up with a few siege tanks and a few Vikings. They're like, I got the control, I got the tanks, you're donezo. And I feel as if Avilo will be a little bit more prepared for that. However, still, it can always be a threat if your opponent's going for a build like that. And UpATree, he is building up that Viking count very significantly. We'll see if he starts another tank or something along those lines. While Avilo getting up those command centers. So UpATree, it looks like he is planning to go for an attack here. That's really what that's building up into. That Banshee for Avilo does get caught. Looks like, I think it's gonna... I survive. I totally called that as that Banshee manages to escape there. It can actually be a nuisance since UpATree did not construct an engineering bay or anything, and he's actually moving out on the map. Avilo catches the two Hellions. They're nicely done. Looks like he may lose one of his own Cyclones. Oh, this is interesting territory. Cyclone versus two Cyclones with a Hellion in the equation and whatnot. In the end, Avilo has to get on out of there, but he does see that UpATree is moving out on the map. He's got a nice heads up for that. He may move back in with his Banshee, and he's actually doing just that. And keep in mind, this mineral line is completely undefended. UpATree, he was really focusing on this attack, and this Banshee is going to hit him hard. As long as Avilo just micros that a little bit, he's doing just that. Getting on top of those free SCVs. Nicely done. UpATree's crossing the map, but Year Zero, a big map. It takes a while to run across with a bunch of tanks and such. Avilo's been getting prepared for this. He's still down on the Viking count. He's got his 2 Ravens though, so up a Raven, he's got his own tanks, and this isn't a quick push for UpATree, so he's going to be feeling the pressure here as this Banshee now moves on in towards the main base. Avilo keeping it alive just barely, not microing it right now because he's got this army on his front door, but here we see Avilo actually stepping on out, throwing down auto turrets left, right, and center here, just actually so many of them going down, picking off all but one of the siege tanks of UpATree, and you need more than one tank to make a push like this work. That is without a doubt. UpATree's got the Vikings, but this attack not working for him. The Banshee dealing a fair bit of damage. Avilo picks off an SCV or 2. The Banshee finally goes down, but Avilo, he's found himself up a command center. UpATree is, well, not really up, as UpATree is just finishing his 3rd, but a quicker command center by a large margin, up on a significant amount of SCVs, and with a better sort of tech positioning, because Avilo, he's been going into this mech, whereas UpATree, he really delayed his main tech into bio. He's getting up the barracks now, he's getting up the E-bays now, but not at a comfortable time. This is not where you'd be if you just started out macroing as UpATree, so taking a bit of damage, they're not getting enough done, really, and Avilo finding himself in quite a good position, it would seem. Alright, now Combat Shield on the way for UpATree, so he is getting up those bio upgrades, but, I mean, he doesn't have a ton of production here. The fact that he's got his 3rd up sooner rather than even later is nice for him, so he probably wants to float that over ASAP, but, yeah, Avilo now moving out a little bit. We'll see if this is just to secure his 3rd base or whether he's going to be moving out. Looks like it is going to be securing his 3rd base. That is one of the things about mech players. I mean, UpATree, he could potentially be vulnerable right now. It's tough to know in TvT, though, whether you're the vulnerable one or whether your opponent's vulnerable. It can always be hard to read. Really depends on how much gas your opponent's putting on the throttle. But here we see UpATree moving out on the map, just wanting to test the waters, but getting punished pretty hard for it there. And then throws down some monitors. Let's take a look at that. Viking count is currently 7 to 6. Very close margins there. Avilo, though, with the defender's advantage, with his Ravens in the mix. Looks like UpATree picks off actually one of the Ravens. Very nicely done. But his Vikings, man, they are red. UpATree, that could have gone so wrong for him if those Vikings got picked off. Just one shot on each of those Vikings, and he'd lose 3, maybe 4. So definitely going to want to go home and repair those. Just keeping the pressure on Avilo a little bit. However, Avilo, he's really checking all the boxes that you need to as a meching Terran to find yourself in a nice position. For those of you that maybe aren't as fully aware in TvT generally how the dynamic works, I mean, if you're a Terran, you're probably familiar because there's a few ways to play this matchup, and this is a pretty common scenario. Avilo going to be meching up. He's got himself a pretty strong mech backbone here. Let's take a look. He's got 7 tanks, which is pretty decent to defend against most amounts of bio, unless your opponent comes in with a very strong attack. And he's thinking, what's the next thing to do? He's going to be getting up in the Viking county, throw up these 2 extra starports. He'll probably start producing Vikings on those, because if you're meching and you control the ground, your opponent has to go into the skies, and Avilo's already anticipating that. Looking up, getting up Olympic ring levels of sensor towers, or at least working his way towards that. We've got 3 of them going on here. UpATree's like, oh man, you've got 3 sensor towers amounts of money right now. Although UpATree getting up his 3rd base, he's down on economy. Not a comfortable spot for a Terran player, there's no doubt about it. He is going to have his 1-1 upgrades finished soon. Might start his 2-2 right after that. Does he have an armor? Yes, he does. And just going to be, yeah, just going into the bio here. Now, the thing is, it can seem a little futile for someone in UpATree's position, but all it takes is 1 really good engagement, so we definitely can't count him out or anything like that. For Avilo, though, he is rather comfortable. I imagine we'll be seeing a 4th CC start up for Avilo relatively soon. That's just generally the feeling you're getting. Maybe he'll throw it up here or somewhere around there. Maybe in his main, who knows. But when you're a meching Terran and you've got this much of an army, the next step generally is to expand. Throw up an extra expansion there anyway. Oh, we got a bit of lag there. Oh, who knows what's going on. But here we see Avilo. He's going full on into this Viking production. That's where a lot of his money's going right now. 5 Vikings at a time. He's got double upgrades going. Currently just the ship, the ground, and the air attack. But we'll see if he starts going into that plating. And upgrade advantages are important in the Viking Wars. Not super as important as, say, like 2-2 versus 1-1's TvZ or anything like that, but in the TvT, upgrades matter. They can help close gaps, and Viking battles are very important here. Right now we see, there we go, Avilo is starting that +1/+1, so he's going to be having the stronger ship weapon upgrades for now at least, or coming his way anyway. UpATree, though, getting into his 2-2 bio, so his bio will have a healthy upgrade amount, and Avilo has invested in a lot of these Vikings. He's invested in a few Thors, but he is still only on 8 siege tanks, so if I had to point out one weak point that he has, it would be to a potential overwhelming amount of bio coming from UpATree, because Avilo is going hard on the Viking versus Viking, whereas you can never underestimate the bio. UpATree could potentially come in with 2-2 bio here. If Avilo, look at this, just making more and more Vikings. No tanks have been produced for a while. He's still only on 3 factories, so if UpATree finds himself like a nice position here, things could go very, very wrong for Avilo quickly. Avilo, though, does have his 2 command centers on the way, but UpATree getting his 4th base on the way, on location. Keep in mind, this is a luxury that the Bio Terran in this situation generally can afford, as you're the one that's mobile out on the map, so you're free to take your expansions because they're generally safer, unless something like a Hellion run by comes in. That's generally why you'll maybe build a wall or get a planetary fortress up at this base. So that's a luxury for UpATree, getting every little thing that he can. Meanwhile, just keeping the pressure on Avilo, forcing him to make tons of units. And let's see, Avilo making a few more Thors here. Spreading out, though, moving out to secure his 4th base. But look at this, Avilo has left himself open here, it would seem a little bit. He doesn't quite have enough siege tanks, I feel. 8, I mean, you get a few more and you're going to be very comfortable. It's a lot on the Viking versus Viking, but this is no small amount of bio. I mean, if Avilo doesn't spread himself right, UpATree may find an angle. I'm just trying to see if there's any weak points really for Avilo. Of course, he's in a very strong defensive situation right now, but as the Bio Terran, it is your job to try and break down into that meching Terran. And so I'm looking at this as a Terran player, just being like, oh man, how would I break Avilo right now? And it definitely would be, because there's no chance he's going to win that air fight unless he goes hard into the air and plays a late game, which you generally don't want to do as the Bio player. Probably because mainly because someone like Avilo is very experienced in this situation, whereas you're probably not if you generally play bio. I don't know how UpATree plays this though, but we are seeing UpATree. He is getting into his 3-3, so he is going to have very nice bio upgrades coming his way. But here we see Avilo is going into a few more tanks. I've been really harping on that, but here we see UpATree. He's looking to push on in, but he does get repelled. Didn't feel confident enough to run right on in there. Testing the waters, though. Avilo making these extra tanks, I feel, is very, very important for him. And look at this, securing a base down to the bottom left. It's at a point in which throwing up extra command centers on location if you can manage it, it's fully worth it. It's worth the risk of just throwing CCs out there because they can pay off dividends later on. UpATree opening a lot of the rocks because he knows he needs to be very mobile in this situation. Avilo's moving out on the map, sharking about. This is definitely Olympic rings level of sensor towers at this point. Can we see how many we got? Avilo, 5 sensor towers. Wow. That's a lot of money in sensor towers, but here we see UpATree is moving out on the map, but it's at the point in which you really can't take a head-on engagement versus Avilo unless Avilo is really out of position. He's got a pretty decent number of siege tanks with this. He's got the air control, so it could become that slow bullying situation. UpATree sitting back for now. I mean, there's not been a lot of activity this game. Resources lost relatively low, but look at this UpATree. Oh man, he tries to unload, but Avilo with with missile turrets for days here. And okay, UpATree's like, all right, I'll play your late game. I suppose there's no chance I'm breaking you. So he's throwing up extra command centers, but might be a little bit too late since he did invest so much into units. You basically have to transition into Mech and then play on par or better than your meching opponent. But UpATree maybe a little bit late with that, getting up some more starports. Let's check out his production because that's important. 2 factories, 3 starports. You might be wanting more as the bio player. The extra CCs are a very important step, but for now, UpATree might be feeling a little bit desperate. He's not been able to push into Avilo, and he needs a pretty big win at this point as the mech just gets better and better for Avilo. Avilo even getting up a fusion core, possibly for Liberator range. Not going to rule out battle cruisers. You never know, though. Let's see. Upgrade-wise, I'm just looking at everything. UpATree's still doing pretty decent. He's got that +2 ship weapon, so actually got himself a lead kind of for now. Avilo's going to even that out by getting the +2 plating and having his own +1. Oh, tanks in position for UpATree, picking off a few missile turrets. Those are not free. Contrary to what some Terran players believe, static defense does cost Terran money. Oh, a nice scan for Avilo. There's 1 tank. Actually going to pick off 1, maybe 2 of UpATree's. Gets 1 of them. Oh, Thor's wandering forward. UpATree is putting on the pressure onto his opponent. These battles can be decided in an instant. Right now, UpATree's moving out, but this is so risky. He's down on the Viking count. Needs anti-armor missiles. A lot of Vikings are engaging here. Avilo is running forward, though, annihilating the Liberators. Those Liberators are like green there from that anti-armor missile, which is still on those Vikings. So UpATree taking a bit of a bad engagement there. It's just beating this many Vikings is really tough to do. Trying to bait Avilo into a bad situation. He got a couple of Thors with his own tanks and whatnot, but look at this. Here comes an Avilo. He's got a Liberator. This is where he begins bullying UpATree back. UpATree oh man, a nice land on the Vikings from Avilo. Picks off a tank, loses himself 1. These guys are playing well here, but we'll see. Avilo, I mean, he's still just playing the game that he wants to play, whereas UpATree, you feel pressured as a bio-Terran right now. His Vikings are moving forward, but they definitely can't contest those of Avilo. They're moving on in for now. We're going to pick off some static defense that's vulnerable on the outskirts, but oh yeah, Avilo, I mean, he's not going to be broken here anytime soon. UpATree, yeah, what's he got to do here? He's getting up lots of CCs. He's going hard on the air control, and so maybe that's just what he needs to do. He's getting that +3 ship attack, so that'll help him out with, oh, look at this, Avilo, liberation zones, interference matrices, Vikings being caught and whatnot. UpATree's just having a rough time. Let's take a look at that resources lost. Avilo starting to pull ahead slightly. Not as far as I'd expect, but still pretty decent. And as far as that fight goes, definitely went Avilo's way as far as just needing to survive goes as the meching player. Because keep in mind, guys, these guys have been sitting back a lot of this game, but they're still spending their money as it comes in. They're still getting up more production, more tech and whatnot. They don't have big banks for either of them, really. Avilo's starting to build that up now. However, it takes a while in TvT. Avilo's starting to move out very comfortable in this game at this point, though. He's just played the game that he wants to play right now. UpATree, he's making a lot of Vikings, hoping maybe to catch Avilo off guard, but when it scans for days, when there's all these orbitals out on the map, it's tough to catch your opponent off guard, unless Avilo makes a major misstep or anything. Viking count is really closing here. Upgrade-wise, UpATree, I think, he's going to have the attack on the Vikings versus Avilo's 1-2. So, I mean, it's kind of close, but it will come down to the engagements. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. For both players, it becomes very high stakes as to who's going to make the misstep. Avilo, though, pretty confident. He's played this situation a lot before. UpATree sitting back. He's got the Vikings. He doesn't have any Ravens in his army, though. No Thors or anything like that. And We'll see. UpATree, he's planning on going into battle cruisers. He's got that weapon refit. That's what the upgrade's actually called, contrary to popular belief. It's not just Yamato cannon, as many of us like to believe. Here we see Avilo. He's got a good amount of Thors. He's got a nice air army, just a nice sprinkling of tanks to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed by bio. UpATree is moving out, picking off a few liberators. Nicely done. Gotta be careful not to overstep though. Siege tank's picking off some turrets, so doing a nice job there. Mike could be moving forward with his liberators. If he could get on top of those tanks, it would be nice. For now though, UpATree pushing Avilo back a little bit. Resources lost, not majorly in Avilo's favorite. I mean, it's a decent amount, but not a hopeless amount or anything at this point. So UpATree definitely can draw this game out. It's just tough to say how this game should be played out. For now though, it's just this stalemate, guys. We could be in it for the long haul here. Let's see. Viking stepping forward for Avilo. He's actually just going for it. He's got the anti-armor missiles, and UpATree does not. Some bios stepping forward for UpATreeZelda, though. Tanks on both sides. Marines running forward. It looks like Avilo will take this arrow victory here, and this is where it becomes very rough for UpATreeZelda. Okay, yeah, Avilo is just going for it right now. The Viking count is dropping on both sides, but definitely in favor for Avilo, coming out massively ahead on that. And that's just what happens when you're the player to invest in that air control first, and your opponent doesn't find a beat spot or anything, just a rough spot. Avilo landing with the Vikings, ripping those siege tanks apart. Let's take a look at the units lost here. 28 Vikings to 44. Avilo coming out well ahead. That's where that resources lost is partially coming from. Missile turrets picking off a few of these Vikings. They're getting their licks in, that's for sure. UpATree, though, he's been bullied back. He's got to reproduce his army here. He's making 10 Vikings at a time. Both players were starting to build up a bank. However, that is gone. Both players have pretty much secured all their bases. UpATree has one more to take. Avilo just taking his last one here. And that's where it really becomes about the resources lost. So far, though, this isn't, I mean, it's not hopeful. He's slightly running out of hope here for UpATree. I don't know what to say about this situation, but it's not a comfortable one. It's just tough to know what to do in this situation as the bio player. You've sort of been boxed in a little bit, and yeah, scans for days. That's all we see right now. There's a scan. Let me guess there's going to be a counter scan relatively soon. Let's see. Maybe not. Okay. Both these players just want to know what's going on, though. Oh, UpATree. Getting his scans in. There we go. Look at that. Just trying to keep an eye on each other. And this is late game TvT. Like it or not, this is what you get. Avilo moving on in with his tanks. Looking to choke UpATree out right now. Siege tanks moving on forward. Vikings moving on forward. The army is just too good here. It looks like for Avilo, perhaps. There's a nice amount of liberators for UpATree. Let's check that Viking count. 36 to 26. So UpATree down in that count. It looks like his liberators could be under fire here too, and he can't engage. So those liberators going down for free. Loses that command center, not something he can really afford at this point in the game. That resources lost gap is widening here, and that is a rough spot for the Bioterran. So unless he gets some sort of miracle engagement, this is looking tough for UpATree, making more and more Vikings here, hoping to pass Avilo perhaps. But Avilo, he's doing what he needs. He's got those Thors for their splash in the air. He's going for an engagement. Anti-armor missiles going down on both sides. Vikings are engaging. Just UpATree's are orange, so Avilo's is not. The count, let's look at the numbers. It's actually surprisingly even here. Avilo, he's got the Thors in with this, though. UpATree, he's doing the best that he can, but it's just not enough. It looks like Avilo will take this game. GG, well played gets called. Avilo takes the game. And I think that may have been one of the first games on my channel that Avilo just won, but no, big congrats to him. Anyway, well played by UpATree, but that's just TvT, guys. If you ever wonder, like, what are those Terrans doing on ladder when they face each other? It's not all just early game shenanigans. Sometimes it gets drawn out like this, and it's got a big dynamic to it as to how you play it. But Avilo, he played the way you want to play. UpATree, you sometimes just get pushed into that situation, and no, anyway, good to see UpATree. He's playing pretty well, and yeah, Avilo though, just doing his thing. That's for sure. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, as I'm just quickly did this cast here, but it definitely was a good one. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to cast as often as I can manage. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.